Hello.
No, mate, all right?
Yeah, how you doing?
Not bad, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm in a storeroom of a framers in an art gallery currently right now. I was talking to you.
All right, nicely. Whereabouts?
Hello.
Newport City.
Okay,
South
cool,
Wales.
How you
No,
doing?
good, mate, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Good stuff. Yeah, cheers for jumping on anyway.
Yeah, no
Appreciate you're
worries.
both busy by the looks of it.
Pleasure. We're in the same place. He's around the corner.
All right. Well, you both work for the same place?
No. Tell him why.
But basically, I run an art studio which is opposite an art gallery called Barnabas Arts House in Newport, and I'm currently working on a project in the lane. We've had lottery funding to paint murals all the way up this lane, fill it with pot plants, seating areas. It's like a big project. So I've been working there today. Ant's come over to the gallery and we thought we'd take a break to do the podcast. So yeah, it's all good.
Ah, nice one. Yes. Yeah, cheers for reaching out anyway. Like, it's always cool to like have different kind of stories on.
Yeah, no worries. I've been a big fan of the podcast for a while now. It's great.
Ah, nice one. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, if I like one or two kind of similar stories where, you know, for whatever reason it's not quite got to that level kind of thing. But like, I guess, yeah, just take us back to how he formed the band and why he formed the band kind of thing.
Well, I'll start. Why, if you don't mind?
Yeah, go for it. You've probably got a better memory of it than me.
Well, I've known Woody, the bassist, since I was about 17 years old. We went to college together. We were in different bands at the time, but we were all like in the same sort of friendship group, all playing gigs together in different bands. The band I was in came to an end, and the band Woody was in came to an end, and we just thought we'd join forces. He knew of a singer from Southampton who was in uni in Newport. He said he's got the right look, which was the main thing. But he also writes these cool little songs. So I remember going to see him in your student house just by, which one was it? Sort of St. Julian's Way in Newport.
That's the way, Church Road, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, I remember going in there and seeing you sat down with an acoustic guitar playing 3 chords and doing like this melodic hip hop stuff over it. And I'd never heard anything like it before. And I thought it was absolutely amazing. So that was it, really. From there, we were like, do you want to start a band? So me, Wiley and Woody started the band. And we got Mike in, the old drummer from my old band. That was sort of early 2006. Yeah, and it went from there. And that song that Wiley was playing at the time, the 3-chord one, became the verse to our first ever recorded song, Charlie, which we still play today.
Yes. And I thought it was interesting, like when you said, yeah, you're the only indie band in a sea of emo. Was that a bit of a thing in Wales at the time, was it?
Oh, it was massive. Thing is, right,
big time.
Everybody we knew was in a band, yeah. There was like hundreds of bands. The scene was massive, but the scene was emo and metal and post-hardcore, that sort of stuff. I mean, I was in one of those bands before Jump the Underground, but I was a big indie kid at heart. When we started, we were the only sort of band of that ilk.
Well, do you know, I remember having these 3 chords and this melody and thinking, I've not long lived in Newport. And I thought, I'm scared to show these boys this song because they're going to be like, what the fuck is that? Because I'm just jamming out songs and talking about my childhood. And it was far away away from what I was hearing in the scene. Emo was nothing like that. And I thought, I'm going to show these boys a tune, see what they think. So I was just banging out these 3 chords and this sort of story about a friend of mine who got too deep into cocaine and whatnot. And they were like, let's work on it. Let's build a song around it. So I was quite chuffed the fact that they took a shine to it. And then that's when we sort of started developing other songs, and we broke away from that sort of scene and felt like we were creating, even though it's already existed, we felt like we were creating our own one in a way.
Yeah, you know? I think we were itching to do it, to be honest, me and Woody especially. Like I said, I was probably the only hardcore Strokes fan in a post-hardcore band, you know, and that's only because I couldn't find anybody else who had the same sort of desire to play the music that I wanted to play. So meeting Wiley was like a breath of fresh air. It's like he fell from the sky.
I did.
Yeah, no, I believe it.
From the sky of Southampton. straight into the streets of Newport, the city of dreams. Have you ever been to Newport, mate?
Nah, mate, I don't think I have. I was thinking I've been there for football, but I don't think I have.
Nah, well, you're welcome anytime. Come check it out.
Yeah,
Cheers,
absolutely.
Mate, yeah. Is that Dirty Sanchez territory?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Is it one of those things you get annoyed getting reference to?
Well, no, do you know, not really, because I mean, in South Wales, we're all like a big family. Do you know what I mean? Everybody's sort of connected in a way, and everybody's really supportive, and it does feel like a family of people. You know, I mean, no matter what you're doing. I mean, obviously you've got like the Goldie Looking Chain, Dirty Sanchez, bands like Skin Dread, 60 Foot Dolls. I mean, everybody knows each other. Also, it's like it's a unit. Or, do you know what I mean? It's like a family.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, it sounds like a cliche, but we legitimately know these guys. They're everywhere. You know, everybody knows everybody. It's nice. Such a small place.
Yeah. It's weird. I've just been watching the press conference for Katie Taylor, Irish boxer, and it's just like,
all right.
Yeah, it's how different like those nations feel about themselves, and like Wales seems to have that, where like really proud of it, whereas like in England it's like we just don't feel like that. But I guess if I was Irish or Welsh, I'd feel differently, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about Wales. Like the population of the entire country is 3 million. You know, the population of London is what, 8.5. You know,
yeah.
So it's you do feel connected, because you have to be. If you're into music, then you know everybody else that's into music. You know, some way down the line. You know.
Yeah.
I think for me, moving to Newport when I was 18. I mean, I've been here 19 years now. I fell in love with the fact that people were such a unit. You know what I mean? Like there was an energy in Newport that I didn't experience in Southampton growing up. It was like it's almost like everyone was in competition with each other in the scene where I'm originally from. In Newport, it felt like everybody was just wanted the same thing. Everyone was hungry, passionate to do what they want to do, and they want to help everyone else out as well.
Yeah,
so I fell in love with that, and
I think
I've been here almost 20 years now.
I think we were lucky in a way that we weren't like any other band around, because there was the competitive thing with the metal and the emo bands and the hardcore bands. That could get quite nasty at times. But we, like I said, we separated ourselves from that. We'd be on those bills, but we'd be completely different. So we wouldn't even think about those bands, you know.
Yeah.
We had no competition.
I can imagine that. I can imagine you getting a bit of a following for that, because there must be like indie kids knocking about that. Like you say, they're probably looking for something to grab onto.
They all came out. They all stopped dyeing their hair black, and before you knew it, you know, the emo kids dwindled in numbers, and the indie kids came out from under their rocks.
How old were you at the time?
One
Out
of
of
interest. Well, when we formed, I was 21 years old. I've been knocking around in bands for a few years. I'm the oldest member of the band, so I think we range from about 18 to 21.
Right. And how old are you when you moved to Newport, Wiley?
I was 18 when I moved to Newport. I'm 37 now. So
okay.
Don't believe it.
Yeah.
No, the same age as. Well, I was 18 in 2006, I think. But yeah. So do you have to go, like you say, you like kind of forced to see almost for yourselves in Wales, but like how quickly were you playing out of town, kind of thing?
Quite quickly, actually. I think
it was within the first year of gigging. I'd say so.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we played I remember we played our first gig in Le Pub in Newport, probably July 2006. That was supporting a band called the New 1920. They were sort of like an alt rock band, but the closest thing to an indie band you'd find around these parts at that time. Their drummer is actually the drummer in Reverend and the Makers now. So we played with those.
I think he's married to
Charlotte from Subways.
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah, weird connection on the pod.
Yeah. I remember listening to that one, actually. Good episode. But yeah, we played our first gig with them. So we played a few gigs, probably 4 or 5, 6, 7 gigs, and by that time we had quite a big following. After a few months, we were selling out venues. And a local guy who we were practicing in his rehearsal rooms, actually. The guy ran the only big rehearsal studio in Newport. and loads about every band practice there. Jamie Sefton, God bless him. He decided he wanted to manage us. He said that we should practice there whenever we wanted, free of charge, if he could be our manager, which we agreed to. And he was a great guy. He really got things moving for us. He was booking us gigs in London, in Liverpool.
He was buying us new clothes before shows, which blew our minds. You know what I mean? He was taking us shopping. And, I was wearing like winkle pickers with my toes hanging out. And this guy was offering to buy us new clothes for shows, and I was thinking, "Fuck yeah, let's go with this guy."
Yeah, he's a cool guy. He was a mix between sort of Del Boy and Brian Epstein. He had an idea for us. He could see the potential. So he invested a lot in us, in fairness. And
he did, yeah.
Yeah, so we would book gigs in London. We'd get a few people in, but we'd fill half the venue ourselves with like people from Newport. So we'd take a coach down. We'd sell 50 tickets in London, but we'd have the other 50 sold in Wales. So we turned up in London and we'd be playing sold out shows, you know, which was great for us. It was sort of a Trojan horse way of doing it, but it was
it was like it was almost felt like a football team on tour. You know what I mean? Because we were taking the whole of Newport with us to do a show in a small pub in London. What was the gig we done? Was it the Soho Review? Was it?
Yeah, Soho Review Bar.
Review.
Yeah.
I think that it was my 21st birthday. I think that show, or the 20th, one or two. And people, by the time the coach pulled up, people were falling out of the coach, rolling into the club. A few service stations lost a lot of chocolate bars and were robbed blind. It was a wild one. It was a good time, you know.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. I remember we did one at the Camden Rock Cafe as well, which is our first London
That's
gig.
the one, yeah.
So our first London gig, it was a sold out event. You know, we knew a few people in London and they turned up, they brought their friends. And then we brought half of Newport with us. And like, we know we're playing in Camden, sort of 2006, and it's absolutely sold out, our first London show. And that sort of set a bit of a precedent then, which was, it was a really good way of doing it. And I would recommend any band to do it, really, because it pricked the interests of the people in London. And after a while, we sort of, off the back of those big gigs, we got lots of management interest and bagged ourselves our first proper manager off the back of it, really.
Yes, yeah. When you say this was 2006,
mm-hmm.
I mean, in hindsight, that's probably like, it's probably the peak, isn't it? Peak of all the interest in that kind of scene. Yeah. Or did it feel like that?
There was a great buzz at the time for bands, indie bands. It felt like you were really part of something, and it was just the hype around everything just felt like something new. You know what I mean? It was just an exciting time.
I think you might have frozen Anthony.
He's reconnecting it.
Okay, nice one. It's weird. Yours is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, which is weird because he's sort of in the lounge area and I'm literally in a cupboard where they keep the frames. I'm surprised it's working brilliant. Like,
yeah, you've got your video
where
quality.
Are you based?
I'm in Manchester, like South Manchester.
Okay, nice.
But from Hull originally.
Oh, I think we've done a few shows there.
Oh yeah.
In the past, yeah.
Welly maybe, or Adelphi or something.
No, I'm not sure. Do you know often when because they kind of blur into one, don't they? When you're on tour or whatever. Yeah. It's difficult. A lot of venues seem the same, like especially when you're turning up at night time and leaving at night time. It's hard to really gauge where you are. Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah, definitely. Yeah. How come? So what you grew up in Southampton? Like, how come you moved to Wales?
Well, I went to study art. I went to art school. And then I sort of moved. When I met the boys, I sort of moved away from art for a long time to make music. Do you know what I mean? Because I already made music as a younger, but I never thought moving away I'd find the lads and start a band. It just sort of happened. So I moved away from my art and concentrated on music for a long time. It's only when the band split up, I started getting back into my art.
Okay, right.
But yeah, that's the reason why I originally come here anyway.
And were you the main songwriter then?
Well, how it would usually work is I'd have like 5 chords, 3 chords, and a melody. Show the boys, and they'd build a song around it. So it was more of a unit thing, really, more of a team right. But I'd sort of start the process, and they'd finish it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, listening to your songs today, I was enjoying what's the Tracy one? Tracy MI, is it?
Tracy and I, yeah.
I was enjoying that.
Wicked.
But you can definitely hear like the influences of like bands at that time, like Jamie T or Maccabees type vibe. Were you into those
Well,
two?
funny you say that. I mean, Maccabees, when they brought out Colour It In, I think that was, for me, one of my favorite albums of that era. And like the naive lyrics on the records and the simplicity of it was just so beautiful. They made simplest things sound so complex, you know?
Yeah.
Me and the missus, we went to the last of a show in Alexander Palace.
I went to that, yeah.
You know, it was great.
Oh, did I go? Oh, was it? I went to one at Brixton,
I think
actually.
Jamie came of age, didn't he? You know? Or Jack Panati as well, that guy. Yeah, it was great album. Really used to like that band.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's always been a team effort really with a band when it comes to songwriting. But sometimes I write the lyrics first and then a couple of chords and then they'd make it a song.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, go on, mate. Was it a table? Sorted. Is Anthony still stuck out, is he?
Yeah, he's not logged on. Has he? He's not logged on yet. Oh, wait.
You're having trouble
there,
aren't you? No, yeah, his internet's gone off apparently. Yeah, I got upstairs. He's just going upstairs now.
Ah, okay, no worries. What did Anthony play in the band again?
Anthony's a guitarist.
Okay, right.
A 4-piece band. We had Anthony on the guitar, Woody on bass, Mike on drums. Yeah, it was funny. The first time I met Anthony, actually, he was a Woody's, and we were going to set this band up anyway. But I was walking through Newport. I think it was on Friday night, late at night. I see this guy. He was stood by the cash point. He seemed quite smashed. And I previously have not met him, and he pointed to me and he said, "Yo, you're going to be in my band." And I was thinking, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And he was like, "You're going to be in my band." I was like, "Okay, whatever." Sort of walked on by. And a week later, turned up to rehearsals, and there he was. I was like, "No way!" I was like, "That's the guy." But
was he just like the look here?
Well, no, he'd already been speaking to Woody, the other guy that I was friends
so
with.
he knew who you
so
were.
it was already organised, but I'd not met him yet. So being out on a Friday night, seeing him in the street, and then him saying that, I just thought, who the fuck is this guy saying that? And then was surprised him when I turn up and like, you're the guy. You know what I mean? It was quite funny, like.
Yes. Should we wait till he jumps back on? I don't know.
Yeah, he shouldn't be long.
Okay.
Yeah, he shouldn't be long. I'm just process of painting a big pigeon in the lane.
What's that?
I'm painting a big mural of a pigeon today.
All right. Yes.
I think pigeons don't get enough recognition, you know. I feel sorry for them. They're just the same as us, really.
Now then. Yeah, it's a bit better.
Hey, there he is.
Yeah.
You're upstairs, you aren't?
Yeah, I'm tethered to my phone. What a modern world.
If you just go back to that 2006 point, then in hindsight, it feels like that was probably the peak year of kind of how, I don't know, like the interest in that whole scene. Did it feel like that in London?
Absolutely, in London, yeah. Yeah, it felt like we were injecting ourselves into something that was absolutely buzzing, you know, especially for that type of music. And it wasn't the same in Newport, because like I said, we were pretty much the only band playing that type of stuff in Newport. So to go to London and to see the world as we'd read about in the NME and stuff was amazing, you know. It was really happening. It was peak time.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, especially somewhere like Camden. I mean, I remember going down there during that time. It's pretty, that was a place to be type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. When we did a gig in a Barfly, Cannon Barfly, around about that time.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not still there anymore, is it? The Barfly.
No, it was. I think we played one in Camden Barfly. We also played the Fly as well, just off Oxford Street. That was it. Yeah. That's definitely not there anymore. But yeah, it was a surreal time, because everywhere you go, you bump into somebody. It'd be strange, you know. All these people you'd read about would be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember once being in Bar Talk in Camden, and Amy Winehouse coming in with Drew McConnell. And so I thought, I've got to go and speak to her, like, and it's Amy Winehouse. So went and introduced myself to her, and she was absolutely lovely. She was not in the most sober states, but she was so nice. Like, she bought me and my girlfriend at the time drinks, and she was very generous, very lovely. But it's like, that would happen nowhere else. You know, where else is the bassist from Baby Shambles and Amy Winehouse going to breeze in through the door? It's just not going to happen. You know, so you did feel like, yeah, this is it. This is the place to be, you know.
Yeah.
I got swept away with it, and I decided that the place that I wanted to be wasn't Newport anymore, and it's actually London. So I moved to London.
Oh, okay.
I had a girlfriend there at the time, so I moved in with her in London, and the lads were back and forth all the time. We ended up spending probably, you know, they were probably spending 50 or 60% of their time in London. And I was living there.
And 100% of our money as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, how did that work in terms of...
Man.
Go on, sorry.
They were turbulent times, you know. We felt, we sort of, I feel like we almost got carried away in the moment. Like, we were so sort of immersed ourselves in the scene that it was just exciting. It was like a buzz. It's like, it was never going to end, you know what I mean? It was like a party that would never end. But I think ultimately it did come to an end because we were quite excessive people.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was the whole scene, the era of music. It was just the energy of it. It was so exciting. We were just full blown into it. Do you know what I mean? It felt like we lived it every day. Do you know what I mean? And ultimately, that was the demise of the band.
That was definitely our downfall, I think.
Yeah,
I think.
It was,
yeah. So we built up quite a big following in Newport. We thought, this is great. We went to London. We were building the same sort of vibe there, albeit on a smaller scale, and nothing really when you think about it. But in our heads, it was amazing. You know, we were recording these good songs that were getting lots of traction on MySpace. Remember MySpace?
MySpace, old school.
Yeah, so we were handing out hundreds and hundreds of our demos that we'd recorded ourselves. People were loving what we were doing. And we thought at that point, yeah, we've made it, you know. We got ourselves a professional manager who was he was a media lawyer at the time, quite a renowned media lawyer, and he decided that he wanted to turn his hand to managing bands. So he looked after people like Luciana. I don't know if you remember Luciana.
I don't think so.
A dance. She was like an electronic sort of artist. She was quite big. She had a number 2 single and a few top 10 singles. He looked after her, and I think a couple of members of Blazing Squad as well, if I remember rightly. But to us, that was big time, you know. So
Did you get plenty of offers like that? Like, how many offers were there, like after gigs and stuff like that?
It was pretty good, actually. You know, we were generating a bit of a buzz. We off the back of getting our management deal with him, we got in to record with Russ Keffer, the Junk Scientist. Previously, he'd done people like Larrick in Love and the Rakes. He did a couple of tunes with the Rakes. The Rifles, I think. Remember who else? Bomb the Bass, Paul Tigertail. Right, yeah. Yeah, you know, so he'd done a fair bit of stuff like that. So we went in and recorded with him. So we thought, yeah, you know, big time producer now as well. I remember we recorded it next to where Baby Shambles' rehearsal room was.
Right.
Somewhere in Hoxton. So you can imagine our 20-year-old minds were just away with it. You know, we thought we'd made it. And to everybody back home, we had, in a way, you know, because nobody else was doing that. But we were young, naive, a little bit stupid.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, I can imagine, like, if our band, I only had a band that played a couple of like out of town gigs, but if we'd have got to that point, you'd have been having yourself big time, especially when you're 18, 19, whatever. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, and you know, we had a professional manager that we didn't listen to because that was a cool thing to do then as well. You know, I think we just upset him in the end, and he went on to be the managing director of Sony Music Group. So we shot ourselves in the foot there.
Blimey. What do you mean by not listening to him?
Well, you know, I think he sort of tried to take a little bit of creative control over what we were doing. He was.
Well, that's a bit annoying, though.
Yeah.
Well, I remember the one time he tried to make me have elocution lessons because he said I don't like the way you're pronouncing words in the songs. And in my head, I was like, well, fuck you. These are the songs, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's not happening. And he was like, do you know what I mean? You need to pronounce your words better. I said, well, if I do that, it's not going to sound like us.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised at that. I mean, now I understand what he was saying because sometimes the lyrics get lost in the songs. But
that's
for me, that's always been me. There's no way around that. Do you know what I mean? I guess that's just the way how I put it across. But
I think when he wanted us to start compromising ourselves artistically, after all, you know, he promised us the earth, but we could only have it if we did this, this, and this. It was sort of like, well, sorry, mate, it's not gonna. We kind of
lost the love for it then. I mean, you lose the magic of it when it starts becoming about money and about people in suits telling you what to do.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we sort of went off the rails with it a bit. And by that time, you're talking start of 2008. And I think the indie tide had turned a little bit by then.
Yeah,
it had had its heyday. We were a few years behind the curve, I think, really, ultimately. I think if we had started in 2004, things may have been different. But yeah, you know, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, isn't it?
No, yeah, I can relate in a way because we started our band in 2006, and you'd feel like as you start to get like 2007 and beyond, you feel like you missed the party a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And like, you know, we started the party in Wales, as it were. We went to London and jumped in when we were at the start. It was sort of right at the height of what it was. We jumped in and thought, this is great. But as sort of 2007, 2008 went on, I mean, 2007 was probably when we were producing our best stuff, writing and recording our best stuff. And the ship was sailing away, you know. We didn't realize it at the time, mind. You know, it took another year for us to realize that, you know, perhaps this isn't right. And I think I was sort of 23 as the band were coming to an end. And I was living in London, struggling to pay rent. So I thought, something's got to change here, you know. And I wasn't prepared to go back to Newport or Wales, even though 2 years later I did with my tail between my legs anyway, but that's another story.
Well, I've got a different story actually, Ant.
Here we go.
You were in London partying so hard, it all went tits up.
Yeah,
I think because we're all just
you're probably right.
Too much. We were partying a bit too much. You weren't worried about rent. You weren't worried about anything apart from partying. Neither was any of us really. And I think that's what happened. And we wanted more quicker than where we were at. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think what we didn't realize was that we had missed that boat.
Yeah, big time. We missed the boat with it, and also we sort of lost the energy of it, really, because of the time. As it was sort of building, we just felt like we were, you know what I mean, sort of stuck in that same place, and we want something fresh, you know?
Yeah, and I suppose our rehearsal space was still in Newport. I wasn't in Newport anymore, so you could only rehearse when I could be asked to bring myself back, which was unfair on you guys, you know. Hey ho.
but you know, I wouldn't change it for the world. They were great times. I've got no sort of bad thoughts about it. It was, if anything, some of the most exciting times we've ever had. And
100%.
That's why it's nice now to look back on it, nostalgia. We're doing this 15-year reunion show. It feels great. It feels good.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's like we got back in a room and rehearsed with each other a few months back for the first time in 15 years. And within 5 minutes, it was like we'd never left.
It just came back to us, you know? It was quite natural, quite fluid.
Yeah. It was really good. So off the back of that, we decided, you know, we'll play one last gig. We'll send it off properly rather than like petering out, sort of like we did in 2008. We thought we like these songs. We think we'll play them for people one more time, perhaps release a record as well with them all on. Because we recorded about 20 odd songs in that time, and we never released one of them properly. You know, so we thought we'll make a record and we'll play a gig. So we thought we'll dip our feet in the water, see what the reaction is. Booked out the Westgate Hotel and then decided to advertise a gig, and it sold out completely within like 18 hours.
That's it.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we never thought that would happen.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps we did, but we probably thought it would probably take a few months, But
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of shows booked now, and we're rehearsing quite regularly, which is good.
Yes, you'll be moving back to London next.
Nah, no way. No way.
And you see the demise again then. Time round.
It'll happen again. No lessons have been learned.
Yeah.
Good album title.
That is actually, yeah. I like that.
Yeah, just going back to like when you're recording with that producer and stuff, like who's financing all that? Is it the manager bloke?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was.
So
Jonathan Monjack, I think his name was.
Yeah.
So
you can sort of understand him sort of wanting to capitalize on his investment and perhaps get some money back, because I mean, it wasn't just in fairness, it wasn't just sort of recording that he was paying for, because that wasn't cheap. But like, if I did have to get back to a practice from London and I had no money because they were very skint times, then I'd often ring him up and be like, oh, John, I just need to get the train back from Paddington now, please, mate. And he'd be like, again? Yep, again. So he paid for me to go back to rehearsals. I think all that sort of wore him down a little bit, bless him. Never mind.
Yeah.
He knew what he was getting himself into.
I don't think he did, to be honest.
And was there a point where he called it a day? What happened with that?
I think no. I think we sat down with him and said, we don't want to do this anymore, basically.
It was on our end, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
We decided to sort of part ways.
Definitely.
So he was trying to like have too much control or whatever.
Yeah. It wasn't working. It wasn't working. I don't think we weren't what he wanted us to be. I think because he wasn't a band manager at the time, I think he sort of thought, I'll get myself one of those indie bands.
Yeah.
And I think he tried to turn us from what we were sort of into the Kooks.
Right.
And there's already a Kooks.
Yeah. Sounds like he's trying to be a bit Malcolm McLaren or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I suppose. Yeah.
More like a David Dickinson, I think he was.
Yeah.
What, just a bit corporate kind of thing.
Yeah, I think probably.
He's had a nice tan.
Yeah, he had a lovely tan. I think in hindsight, and we probably would have been better off staying with Jamie in Newport.
Yeah, 100%.
He was a bit of a wheeler dealer, self-employed in the most surreal sense, but great, and completely backed us and loved what we were doing, supported what we were doing, didn't try and change us, and gave us a home. Like I literally lived there for 3 months in that rehearsal room. It was great. And when Jonathan Monjack came along, I mean, he had the decency to think that he was doing the right thing by saying, look, go with that guy. He knows what he's doing. I've done all I can for you here. But, he was 29 years old at the time. He was a grown up compared to us.
Yeah.
I think he had the right intentions from the start. He just was a bit naive about the right approach to take, I think.
Yeah.
As were we all,
Oh, absolutely. We were the most naive people in the world. But we thought we knew it all.
But that's the way to enjoy it as well, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
you just go in it, loving it all, basically. Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of the big gigs that you mentioned, like headline the festival. Sounds pretty major.
Yeah, I think it was the XFM stage.
Yeah, the Metro Weekender.
Cardiff Weekender. Metro Weekender, that was it.
Yeah, so the Metro used to put on a festival. I don't know if they still do, in August. They'd have one in London and one in Cardiff. Don't know if they did them anywhere else in the country, but they definitely had those two, which was quite a big festival. I think it had like Dizzy Rascal and Kate Nash and all the big sort of pop names at the time. And we headlined the XFM stage. And yeah, that was great. I remember filling that tent out. Well, we played at the same time as Dizzy Rascal.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember having 1,200 people in a tent whilst Dizzy Rascal's playing over on the main field. Wasn't too bad at all, So yeah, we did that one. We remember the Cortinas contacting our manager to ask if they could jump on a gig with us on their tour. So they supported us in Cardiff Barfly in 2007. I think that was their first ever UK tour. They were great guys. Really, really, really decent people. And we thought we were a million times better than them because we were just idiots. Instead of saying, can we jump on the rest of this tour with you, or do you want to play some more gigs? We were just like, yeah, you can come down and play with us. We played with Cage the Elephant in the Fly. That was like a big showcase gig that our manager had.
I think because they were supporting us. They were supporting us on that.
Yeah,
that
they were. It was a showcase for all the major labels to come and see us, pretty much. And in fairness, they absolutely wiped the floor with us.
They completely. They came on and smashed it. We were like, wow, how do we follow that?
Yeah. I remember.
Nice boys, though. Good lads.
Yeah, they were great, so friendly, and so so grateful. They were really good. They were really good. But I think that gig actually secured them the UK and European deal because they were amazing and they were playing something different to what we were playing, But it secured them some major success, which is good. That was nice. Yeah. So I played loads of big gigs really for such a small band that weren't really doing much.
Yeah, well, I said you played in Hull at one point, maybe.
No, this would be the band that came after Jumping Around.
Right. Okay, sorry, man.
Yeah. I can't remember us ever playing Hull. I think we did Liverpool, we did London all the time. Southampton. That was a strange one as well. Southampton because
the Joiners. The Joiners, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I remember going down and playing the Hobbit first. So like,
we did. Yeah, we did. You're right.
Like 30 people, the Hobbit pub, playing to like 30 people, then coming back a couple of months later and playing the Joiners and it being absolutely sold out.
Yeah, great venues. Do you know, I got a lot of love
crazy for a band of our size.
Yeah, I remember hearing a story about Baby Sean was playing there, I think.
Yeah, is that when he fell asleep on the stage?
Yeah.
Possibly,
yeah.
You mentioned the show. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, no, go on.
You mentioned labels. Just interested, what was there any kind of meetings without any kind of like close calls with labels or anything?
Yeah, I mean, we sat in a fair few.
Never sat down with labels.
We sat with a fair few people, but I'm not sure who the fuck they were, what they were on about. Because it never really sort of came with anything.
I can't remember. All I remember, the
manager at the time would be like, I'm going to sort you a deal with these people. And he'd come back being like, nah, it wasn't right. And then we got us thinking, was he going to talk to anyone or was he just bullshitting us,
Yeah. But I remember he got us Dean Marsh to be our media lawyer. And I remember going to his office to sign our contract with him. Remember that, why?
I think so,
Dean Marsh's office.
I think so.
Oh, he's gone again.
Oh, he's frozen. But for me, because we were following on from Jump the Underground, I was in a band called Dirty Goods, and we went on to do separate things. It's sort of kind of a different genre in a way. But anyway, I was sort of sometimes the lines are blurred between memories about Jumping Underground and the band that followed. I get confused about what time was what.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an indulgent time. It was good.
Oh yes, yeah.
A media lawyer though. What's that about?
Yeah, well, most artists have a media lawyer, somebody to look over your contracts and things and make sure people aren't trying to rip you off. I mean, probably a non-flyer from the start, really, when your manager is suggesting the media lawyer you should go to look over his contract, Right. But in fairness, this guy represented every man and his dog,
He had nice trousers though, didn't he?
Yeah, lovely trousers, amazing trousers, good glasses as well.
Yeah.
But no, I remember him setting us up with him because he was like, there are going to be a few offers coming your way, and we just want to be prepared, make sure we got the right people. And that's why he said every time he'd go out and sit down with somebody, he'd come back and be like, no, it wasn't right. It's like, well, are you going to show us what they've offered? And he'd be like, no, there's no point. We'll move on to the next one. Right, okay. Yeah,
it's a bit odd.
Yeah, it is a bit odd. I think.
Yeah, he used to make us sit on his lap as well. That was weird, wasn't it?
Gonna get me cancelled, mate.
Yeah. That was a joke.
I'm only joking.
That was a joke, by the way.
I was gonna say, throw me off there. Yeah, but like, yeah, you mentioned like seeing people around. Is there any other stories about like bumping into like big characters from the time?
What about Janine from EastEnders? Remember, she was like pinching your cheeks, trying to crack on you. Was it Janine? Was it Buffalo 8?
Yeah, yeah. It was Janine.
She took a shining to you, didn't she?
Bungalow 8.
Bungalow 8.
Yeah, she did. She did, Janine. Yeah, I doubt she can remember it though.
Yeah, I remember she had no shoes on.
But yeah,
she was a bit dishevelled, like
no shoes on.
She was having a good time.
Yeah,
fair play.
Yeah, she was having a great time. I think that was the same night we met Mark Ronson as well.
All right.
I think,
cool.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah. So I mean, we were knocking around with all these people in all these places. So in our heads, we were thinking, right, this is it now. We've done it. This is exactly what, you know. But before we'd even put out a single, before we'd even had a decent review in the NME, you know,
it sort of came to an end.
Mature enough for it.
Yeah, I mean,
unfortunately,
we just weren't ready mentally, I think.
Did you get featured in the NME much or anything?
No, we weren't.
I think once we did. Yeah, they did a very short review. They called us the Scratchy Indiists or something like that, wasn't it?
Super Scratchy Indiists.
Yeah, I think that was about it, wasn't it?
Super Scratchy Indiists.
That's a new one. Never heard that one before. Then yeah, I guess. Yeah, did you say recorded a full album at one point then?
Sorry, Harry, the connection's really bad here, mate.
We record about three tracks at a time in different locations. So to the point where we ended up with about 20 tunes recorded. We've only just now sort of mixed them so they're all at the same level, ready to. We're going to put out an album on vinyl for nostalgic reasons, really. But it's going to be available in the new year.
Sounds good, yeah. And yeah, I guess like just to like kind of
definitely.
Just to sum up, I guess, was there like a peak moment for you? What was the high point, do you think?
I think for me the high point would be our hometown shows, like TJ's. I don't know if you heard of TJ's venue in Newport.
Right. Okay.
We used to round that place. There were people queuing down the street. It was just such an energy at the time, such a buzz. Not only for us, but for the whole Newport scene at that time. It was just magic. Like just felt like something was happening here. Do you know what I mean? And for me, that was the best time. That they were the best times, the most exciting. TJ's, the hometown shows, the buzz, the people. It was like something that I think I wouldn't change for the world. You know?
Yeah, I think I have to agree with that. I think coming, like, even when we went away and we come back, like it was just amazing to sell that place out because that was like legendary in Newport. You know.
Yeah, and plus it was ours, you know what I mean? It just felt like it was ours, our home. It felt like stepping into your own living room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the vibe, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
And, you know, you mentioned a few things, but is there anything that stands out in terms of something you do differently?
Something we do differently?
Yeah.
Nah, I wouldn't change anything. None of it. I've got no regrets. Maybe overindulgence was a bit of a problem, but no, I don't regret anything. It was just exciting time. We were young, and that's what we were about, and it was just one for the memory book. Do you know what I
mean?
Yeah.
That's what you got to do when you're young.
I tell.
Yeah, sorry.
100%. Are you there, guys? Can you hear me? Am I still here?
Yeah.
Sorry, the connection's really bad. I do.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a delay.
If I could tell my 21-year-old self one thing, it would probably be to just calm down, take it easy. But then my 21-year-old self would tell me now to fuck right off.
Yeah. Well, that's what he's massively encouraged in that whole scene, wasn't it? Just to get absolutely out your mind, basically.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of being in a band. I think it was. I wasn't really fussed about the music or doing gigs. I just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah,
no, we did.
you know, I'm
we
joking.
enjoyed it.
You know, I'm
But,
joking, man.
yeah, no, we were in it. We were in it for the. I was going to say we were in it for the crack, but not the actual crack, but the crack. As in the
Yeah,
average.
not actual crack.
We were. Yeah, no, but we were in it for everything. You know, it was all or nothing. And,
For me, it was just
I
about
think
being in a room
We've been,
with my mates, best mates, writing songs, just for no reason other than that we felt like we needed to do that for us because we wanted to make music that we like, that we love. Do you know what I mean? If nobody ever came to our shows, nobody ever listened to our music, we'd still be making it.
yeah.
And for me, that's the thing.
So yeah, let's talk about these reunion shows and like how can people? You said they're already sold out, these reunion shows.
Yeah, they sold out in 18 hours overnight.
Oh yeah, you said that. Yeah.
Which blew our minds. I'm surprised that people would still remember us. So we're just humbled, really. Like, it feels good.
Yeah, and then people can keep an eye on everything on your social media.
That's it.
All right, spot on. Yeah, cheers to that, guys.
Yeah, no probs. Thanks very much, Harry. Thanks for having us, mate.